What is going on, YouTube universe? This is ArghGodzirra. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me for another AFL tips, predictions and discussion video, where today in particular we are going to look ahead to round 20. We are going to take time to reflect on round 19, which is where we kick off today's video. There were a few bangers that went down in round 19. This definitely wasn't one of them though. We kicked off Marvel Stadium Friday night. I tipped Richmond by 15 points, and at one point in time that looked like it was going to actually go through, but then Fremantle drew level and the rest is history, and my heart is still very much broken because some potential ladder predictions going forward now have Richmond sitting out of the top 8 by the end of the season. We need everything to fall into place here. You would have thought, on the back of Jake Aarts playing on against the Gold Coast, was it the Gold Coast? No, North Melbourne. You would have thought Jake Aarts playing on against North Melbourne with 50 seconds to go when he marked the ball inside 50, that there would have been a club discussion going into this game where if the ball is marked within the dying moments, go back, take your time. I am not at all blaming Jake Aarts for our loss, even though I feel him going back and taking the kick would have impacted the scoreboard. And I'm not at all blaming Noah Cumberland for playing on with 0.5 of a second left in this particular game, where any score would have won us the game. And Noah Cumberland has proven in the last few weeks he has a very long kick. He would have easily gone back from 60-55 and scored anything. I'm 100% certain of that fact. The fact that we were still able to move the ball so quickly in the dying passages of that game speaks volumes, but Richmond again had plenty of opportunity and it went begging. Fremantle had plenty of opportunity and it went begging. The discussion out of this game is now happening where should the clock that is shown on the scoreboard during games be a downward clock, not an upward clock. We've currently got a clock on the scoreboard that counts upwards, where everywhere else we have a clock that goes downwards. And Lee Montagna and Patrick Dangerfield and, you know, current players and past players have all come out this week and said that if a bench is able to hold up signs from the sideline to say, we've got 2 minutes left, we've got a minute left, rah, 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 if the coaches team, the coaching staff within a box, they know how much time's left. Commentators know how much time's left. Players on the bench will know how much time is left. The people that do not know are the players out on the field. So rectifying the clock in a situation like that so players can actually see for themselves in the heat of the moment, okay, I've got 15 seconds left on the clock, we need to make something work. So if they mark the ball then, they then know they need to take their time. And it's a discussion I feel that's going to be had from here until the end of the year now. Whether we see change is a different ball game. But I'm definitely all for that change to come in. Regardless of whether you tip Richmond or Fremantle this past week, you would have gotten a tick for it. So I did get the correct tip. But in the way of Richmond season and myself as a Richmond fan, it was incredibly deflating to have not only our third game in a row decided by less than a kick, but now our fifth game this year decided by less than a kick. It's insane to think if we had won those 5 games, we would currently be sitting on 14 wins along with Geelong. That's where Richmond are at, but they've been failing to finish games off. So hindsight, again, a powerful thing, but Richmond starting the weekend off for me with a correct tip in the draw, but a very sour note after the draw. Blundstone Arena, the next game, North Melbourne versus Hawthorne. I tipped Hawthorne. I thought by about 4 or 5 goals would be pretty much comfortable. They did it by almost 50 points, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Hawthorne running late this year. They're not going to play finals, but they have shown since the buys especially that this crop of youth that they've got coming through are exceptionally talented, and give them a couple more years and I reckon they'll be contending. North Melbourne put in effort but fell short, and I was watching the footy. with my old man last week, and even he turned around and said North Melbourne had their big win against Richmond, so they'll probably drop off, and that seems to be the case this week. Whether or not they can pick up another win on the run home, who knows? But Hawthorne gave us another tick for the weekend. Sydney versus Adelaide, I was pretty comfortable in Sydney. I said by about 6 goals. You know, they got the job done, but Adelaide showed glimpses that exposed Sydney a little bit. But then Sydney, on their rebound especially, looked incredibly damaging. And Sydney, in my books at the moment, could be one of those teams that people are sleeping on and in September could do a lot of damage. Geelong got it done against Port Adelaide in a very close game. And if the game had been decided by less than a goal the way of Port Adelaide, a lot of controversy could have been brought up with Patrick Dangerfield had a moment in the goal square where he kicked the ball off the ground. Aliir claimed he touched it. The goal umpire, I believe, called it a touch, and before they could even review it, the ball had already been kicked in. So they can't review a goal or a behind once the ball is back into play. They were quick to bring it back in. The umpire didn't stop game. Obviously, the bunker didn't feel there was need to review it. So there's still glitches in our system on that front, but Geelong still getting the job done. I believe that's now 8 in a row for Geelong now, so very impressive. Still sitting on top of the ladder, and I think they're still the torchbearers this year. Brisbane, in a very close game against the Gold Coast, wins the Q-Clash. Another Q-Clash win for them. I didn't think it would be this close. I thought Brisbane would actually blow them out by a bigger margin. And the Gold Coast looked good in parts. Tuke Miller absolutely destroyed it in the midfield and got a lot of the ball. Levi Casbolt, Mabior Chol, you know, the taller Gold Coast players were clunking marks. But Brisbane just finding a way when, you know, Brisbane can get it done. But then, questions still arise. They won at the Gabba. Will they come down to Melbourne this week and win, or will their track record at Melbourne not hold up strong enough? Time will tell. Match of the round. Contenders. There are 2 of them coming up. The first of which was at Marvel Stadium. Bulldogs taking on Melbourne. I think Melbourne were in front up until about 5 minutes left, and then Bulldogs put the foot down with Jamaro Ugle-Hagan kicking his 5th goal with about 20-odd seconds left on the clock. It iced the game at that point in time. He got a NAB Rising Star nomination on the back of that 5-goal performance. Well deserved. This was one of the games I was expecting the Bulldogs to drop, and they won it. So now moving forward, for Richmond to make finals, they need Bulldogs to lose at least 2 of their next 4. And they're playing essentially 3rd and 4th, or 2nd and 3rd coming into this round. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, but this was my first blemish of the round last weekend. Carlton got it done against GWS. GWS challenged, but in the end, Carlton were too good. And again, with a win here, I'm pretty sure Carlton have locked up a top 8 finish for the season, which is absolutely huge for their club. I personally don't feel they're ready to strike come finals yet. Give them another year or 2, and I reckon they'll be primed to do so. But I think now, for them, it's just a matter of making it. Once they've made it, then they can work on making it again and doing damage. As a Blue Bagger supporter, if you are watching this, just be happy with the fact that you've turned your club around and you're playing finals football. Just like I was as a Richmond fan, from struggling for so many years to playing finals footy again. It was just a good feeling. This was probably match of the round for mine. Collingwood, Essendon. Essendon were 20-odd points up, I believe, going into the last quarter. And at late stages were down, and then Collingwood put the foot down. Jamie Elliott marks the ball with about 30-odd seconds left on the clock. He milks it all the way down, takes his shot after the siren, puts it straight through. Absolute scenes. Only a couple of minutes earlier, I think it was Harrison Jones, got a free kick paid to him that should have been paid a 50-metre penalty to put him in front of goal, but they did not pay the 50, they only paid the free kick. And I feel this is common trend with umpires being weak as absolute dog piss when it comes to having to make umpiring decisions in dying moments of games. Umpires are seemingly putting the whistle away and letting play continue, or not making calls that they would regularly make during the play of a game. And I think that needs to change, because that 50's paid. He goes back and kicks that goal. Essendon lock up the win. Instead, he takes the shot from further 50 out, further than what he should have. Hit the post, I believe. Only hit that behind, and then Collingwood were able to launch their rebound, which ended up in the Jamie Elliott goal. I still tipped Collingwood to win, so I'm happy with that fact, but I'm pointing out that with decisions like that, they need to be paid. Another controversial thing coming out of this game, Jack Ginnivan tackled high by Mason Redman. Should have been a free kick for high, and it's putting everyone into meltdown because people are now saying Jack Ginnivan's being targeted by the AFL, isolated by umpiring decisions. I can see both sides of this story. Jack Ginnivan should have been paid the free kick, but didn't, based on notoriety, and what he has compiled in his career so far is the notoriety of whenever the ball comes near him, he's going to drop his knees, he's going to roll his arm up, and he's going to try and sucker in a head-high free kick. So, as soon as the umpire sees any indication of dropping the knees or lifting his arm, regardless of whether the free kick should be paid or not, they are not going to pay it because history is being dictated here. Had he had not created that stigma for himself, he wouldn't be in this situation. So I feel it's kind of like a boy who cried wolf scenario, where he's not getting these free kicks paid because the umpires think he's dropping his knees, where in fact there are going to be instances now where he legitimately gets his head ripped off, where you can argue that was the case here, and he doesn't get it paid because the umpires feel they're interpreting what he's doing. It's going to cause a lot of trouble. I know going into next season they're looking at doing if you drop your knees or you try to roll the arm or you try to initiate contact, they're actually going to put it as holding the ball against you instead of a head-high free kick. I think that's great. But how are we going to move forward if they can't even, monitor this ruling as a whole now? Because even though Jack Ginnivan's being isolated for it now, players like Joel Selwood, Luke Shuey, they've been doing this for years and it has never been a problem. Jack Ginnivan does it and all of a sudden it's now a community-wide discussion. I don't understand it, but we move on. Final game of the round. I think I'm never backing West Coast Eagles again. Ever. I should have learnt my lesson already, but I thought Eagles at home against the St Kilda mob who's been getting belted the last couple of weeks. Why not? Nope, West Coast couldn't even fucking deliver there. So that was another blemish for us for the weekend. We only lost the 2, so I tipped 7 out of 9 this week. We did have, however, a 9 out of 9 tipster. It is Khan the Cat Sam H, 9 out of 9. Congratulations to you for getting a perfect round of tipping. As we turn our attention to the total tips, we have Heidi U2, Craig K, and some cripple Michael T tied for first place with 117 total tips. Heidi U2 holding number 1 spot by margin, and it's only by a margin of 19. So congratulations to the both of you for having a combined total to lead the round, but a special congratulations to Heidi U2, Craig K for being in that number 1 slot. As we can see, they are 2 tips clear of Freo 90, Courtney K, and Brighton 75, Kirk G, who have been front runners for the competition all season. Then we've got Welsh Duke Duncan P pop up out of nowhere. We've got a few on 113, a few on 111, some on 110. Then myself back on 108. I'm ruling out a win here. I am 9 tips behind. There is no way I am making up that margin. I have said top 10 for me, so I've got to make up 3 tips to get into the top 8, which alludes me to this week. Can we potentially make some tips that are going to make up that ground? First game of the round is at Optus Stadium, Fremantle taking on Melbourne. This one has me really bending my mind because you've got a Melbourne who was outplayed late by the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium, but you've got a Fremantle who drew with Richmond down here at Marvel as well, ironically, but then as a club have been performing so well at Optus Stadium, you've got to think that they can beat the best there. And I think I'm going to lock them in. I'm going to lock in Fremantle, and I'm going to do Fremantle by 11 points. I reckon it's going to be a very close game. I don't think there was no injuries out of the Fremantle game Nat Fyfe. Nat Fyfe did a hamstring. It's not as bad as what they thought it was, but he's still going to be missing this week. I personally feel, big contentious call here, I feel Fremantle should look at trading Nat Fyfe out of the club and get some currency for him. He's not adding anything to their midfield. He's playing predominantly forward. He's not that good of a set shot on goal. He proved that last week against Richmond. And while there are some clubs that could still probably use someone like a Nat Fyfe, not just for on-field stuff, but like leadership, I feel Fremantle are in a position here where they can say to him, thank you for your service. Are you keen on going elsewhere? Do you want to wrap up your career? Whatever the case may be. I think Nat Fyfe is coming to the end of his career, especially with all the injuries he's been going through. So why not flirt with potentially moving him on? I know that's a big call. If you're a Fremantle supporter, or even if you just want to get involved in the discussion, let me know in the comments down below. But I think Fremantle will get the job done against Melbourne here. And I think with Melbourne being a favourite, backing Fremantle here could go in my favour. But I might change once teams are announced. Just fair warning. Saturday, MCG, we've got Collingwood taking on Port Adelaide. I'm going to lock in Collingwood for what I believe will be their 10th win in a row, if they can get it done. They just look very impressive. They just find ways to win. They have answers for every team they have come against so far. Some people have argued, they haven't really knocked off anybody notable as of late. There definitely have been some scalps, and we can't discredit other wins they've had through the year, especially against teams like Melbourne. So I think Collingwood here, I had them for a top 4 finish. I think they're very well going to get it. They're sitting 4th currently, so another win here will go forward in locking that up. And I feel they could be a serious contender for the premiership this season for the type of football they've been playing. Don't discredit the Pies at all. SCG has the Battle of the Bridge, Sydney taking on GWS. I think the last few weeks have dictated that Sydney has been playing a more superior brand of football. And even though GWS had a good start against Carlton, again failed to get the job done. I don't know what's going on at GWS. They dropped Tom Green, who is arguably one of their best, if not the best midfielder on that list. This is where Gary Lyon said that if Richmond were looking to get Tom Green into the team, because Tom Green's grandfather was a premiership player for Richmond, and we've been linked to him last year through the trade period, we should strike while the iron's hot and go for him now. If he's getting dropped out of this GWS lineup, this is where we should be going to him and saying, hey, you come to us, we'll give you guaranteed game time, and you give him the entire spiel. And, with Richmond being linked to players like Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper, Tim Taranto, as I scratch the back of my neck, I apologise, has been linked to other clubs. Jacob Hopper has been linked to other clubs. You've got Tanner Bruden, who's been linked to Geelong, possibly. Lockie Whitfield, although he's signed for another 2 years, has been apparently very unhappy at GWS and wants to leave. They need to make up a difference of $4 million in the salary cap. That's how badly this club is struggling. So, when you've got to offload that much talent, it could leave a big gap in GWS's list, and it could hurt them for a few years to come. But I think for this game in particular, Sydney are going to lock in another very sizable win. I think this is going to get done. I'm going to back them by at least 40 points. I reckon it could get very ugly. Marvel Stadium, St Kilda versus Hawthorne. I feel this isn't just a straight cut game. I'm going to back St Kilda. Sorry, I was still thinking of the Sydney game. I'm going to back St Kilda here for the moment. Once teams are announced, I will make a further decision, because I do feel Hawthorne are a genuine chance to win this game. But St Kilda, for me, I've been a little bit harsh on them the last couple of weeks, deservingly so, because they've been playing terrible football. But I think that they should get the job done here against Hawthorne, essentially at home. GMHBA Stadium, Geelong taking on the Bulldogs. I think Geelong win this one at home. They found a way on the road in a game where, even though I tipped them, I felt Port Adelaide could upset them. Bulldogs had a very good win late against Melbourne, but I think they might be out of their element a bit going down to the home of the Cats. And this is a game where I have to tip Geelong and hope that they win, because as I mentioned, I've got Richmond winning 3 of the next 4 games. If you've seen my ladder predictor, you'll know which games I've selected. If Richmond win 3 of those 4 games, they need the Bulldogs to lose 2 of their next 4. So a lot hinges on the next couple of weeks for the top 8 spot. If Richmond can somehow find a way to win this week, they need to hope Geelong win. I'm locking in Geelong. They've been playing some great football. I think it's all going to come together going back at home. They're going to win what I think is their 9th or their 10th in a row. If the Bulldogs can upset Geelong here, they deserve to be in the top 8. But I don't think they're good enough to knock the Cats off. Final game of Saturday, Adelaide taking on Carlton. Even though it's in Adelaide, I'm going with the Blues. Crows here could upset. We have seen them challenge Collingwood right down to the line. If they can play that brand, they will push Carlton to their limit, if not defeat Carlton. But to start things off here, comparing the two, where they are on the ladder, how they've played this year, Carlton is the easy selection. Metricon Stadium, Gold Coast taking on West Coast. I just said before, I'm never tipping West Coast again, especially for this year, so Gold Coast for me. They played very well against Brisbane last week. Only a few weeks ago, they toppled Richmond, as we know, with that kick after the siren. The following week, I think they fell the following week, but they still played pretty emphatic football. There's still a lot to love about what the Gold Coast are doing. I think they'll get a nice little cushy win home at Metricon. And the West Coast season is just going to keep going down the route it's been going down. Hasn't been good for West Coast fans, but they're hanging in there. Sunday at the MCG, Richmond taking on Brisbane. I'm tipping Richmond. I tipped Richmond in my ladder predictor in this game. There are a couple of reasons why. Historically, Richmond versus Brisbane has gone the way of Richmond down here at the MCG. I think Brisbane this year have struggled a little bit while travelling down this way as well. And I think with an injury to Daniel Rich in defence, he's been one of those players historically as well when playing against Richmond that has really chopped us up in a bad way. I feel if you take his influence out of that defensive structure, Richmond have a chance. Dane Zorko, questionable whether he'll be in the lineup or not. Hipwood and Danaher have been struggling a little bit up forward. So Richmond have a real chance here, especially with Tom Lynch due to come back into the side this week, to get a win, a much needed win to keep their season on track. If we lose this game, I'm almost certain we miss finals this year, because I don't think we can beat Port Adelaide in Adelaide the following week. And then I think even if we won our last 2, we need to win 3 of the 4. I said it. So I'm hoping big time Richmond can win this, even though the tipping has gone majority of the way to Brisbane. The bookies apparently have Richmond as favourite, and I think that's only home ground advantage. So fingers crossed my boys can get it done this week. For love of Christ, please, I just want to fucking win. And the final game of the round, Essendon taking on North Melbourne. Essendon to win this one. North Melbourne are going to be without up to 7 players due to COVID, including their interim coach. So I don't know who those North Melbourne players are, but if those are some of their better players, this could get pretty fucking ugly. So, reflecting on my tips, I'm going with Fremantle, Collingwood, Sydney, St Kilda, Geelong, Carlton, Gold Coast, Richmond, and Essendon. Almost every home team except for Adelaide. I apologise, Adelaide fans. Thank you for joining me for another video. Hopefully I can start making up some ground. I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me in the comments of recent videos to let me know future AFL content you would like to see. I've got a list written down of things I want to do, and it's all been because of recommendations from you guys. So, if there is anything you want to see moving forward, let me know in the comments down below. Also, stay tuned to my channel in the coming days. There is a big announcement coming, not just for AFL content, but for my channel as a whole. And if you guys are truly invested in supporting myself, it is a video you're not going to want to miss. So thank you for watching. Do leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, but that's it from me guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.